With us today is Yael Lavie, journalist, broadcaster, and lecturer. Can you please share some thoughts about media ethics at the age of information?
One of the problems, also one of the main beautiful things one can argue about the digital age, is that everyone has become a journalist. Everyone has access to a great amount of people, to a mass audience, and a Facebook status or a tweet becomes a headline. One of the good examples of how Twitter messed up information is the attempted Iranian Revolution of 2009. In 2009, kids went out to the streets in Iran, and I was at the time the bureau chief of Sky News in the Middle East. But we were based in Jerusalem, and we couldn't cover it because Iran immediately shut borders down. And everybody was trying to get in. The only thing we relied on were tweets. And of course, people were tweeting from Iran, but also the revolution gained a lot of respect in the West. So people in the West, or some guy in the States at a certain point tweeted, if you support the revolution or demonstrations in Iran, this is 2009, of course, change your location on Twitter to Tehran, which many people did. We in the mainstream media were reporting tweets of people who weren't there. And that is disinformation, to say the least. It also later on enabled the Iranian government to say that the Western media is lying because we were reporting tweets that weren't vetted. And that's a problem with social media, which, as we're recording this in 2020, has become go-to information for a bulk of people. And the new generation, it's hard to decipher what is true and what is not. And that is how I also think we got to the age of post-truth. We need to rewrite ethics in the digital age.
So that actually brings me straight into my next question. Could you discuss what effect you think the coronavirus is having and is going to have? Will it increase or decrease eventually the amount of fake news?
First of all, let's begin by saying that the corona age, the age that we're in, where the world is shut down, and these are extraordinary time. Information-wise, I think we're witnessing actually the problem that we have with fake news in the digital age, because I, as a media ethics lecturer, am following what's going on online. The greater audience, or people in their 60s and 70s, are fed so much disinformation right now online, it is frightening. But think about it, when so many people are locked at home and they have so much access just to online information, which is being fed by citizen journalists or people with agenda, this is a watershed moment that I do believe after which, when we come out of it, there'll be a realization that there has to be an ethics code also for media, online journalism, and also social media, because it has become the hub for journalism for people.
What do you foresee as potential implications of the coronavirus on globalization and diplomacy?
When it comes to diplomacy on the day after Corona, I think it can be an amazing moment actually for diplomacy. And this goes to diplomacy, as I would like to see as we battle this virus worldwide, because there's no way of solving this virus without global diplomacy. It's yet to present itself, because the first reaction, what we're seeing is nation states are acting as nation states. On the day after the coronavirus, there's going to have to be global cooperation. People are going to have to start flying again. Economies are going to have to start interacting with each other again, because that is what drives nations. We can't lock ourselves off. Again, we're in the age of the highway of information, but highway of technology. We're going to have to open borders again, and that's where diplomacy is going to feature in. Also, combating this virus, a second wave, the understanding that something like this can happen again, that we have to work together, we have to work internationally to combat, be it a second wave or another incident as such, as we see this is not only possible, it's in our future.
You know, in every crisis, there's also an opportunity. And while we're still very much in the midst of this one, could you share a few thoughts about potential opportunities that you identify at this point as a result of the coronavirus?
I think when it comes to, first of all, international technology cooperation, one of the opportunities we'll see right after this is that the entire world is going to move to digital money. Also financially, economically, is also something that is going to not just open up borders, but enable also interactions financially between countries. If you have digital money, by that I mean everything just works online. It's going to open opportunities for global economy. That is one way to use the crisis. In addition to that, as a media ethics lecturer, I would like to see an understanding. I think there is an understanding right now that you cannot live off of news that is not edited, information that is not guaranteed to be two-source, double-source, whatnot. I think there's a realization also on behalf of the big social media companies maybe not so much Facebook, but Twitter, and I think Google's going to get there, that they have to, as much as we love to think of the internet as the open source, it needs to be mutable, and we need to know what we're reading, and we need to know where information is coming from. There's also the opportunity in situations as such where the authoritarian streak takes hold because people are so scared. I'd like to think that because we have so much access to information, we need to use it wisely and open ourselves up, remain shut.
Do you think that the coronavirus will decrease and weakness of government and an increase in the world of civil society? What role do you think it will play when we're talking about government and the civic society?
In terms of the civic society that we saw emerging just before Corona, the whole notion of community became stronger very much also with, I think, the generation post-millennials, the next generation. The notion of community is also a very technological notion. I think there's a big battle going on right now, and currently government is winning. You have to monitor what we're doing right now because we're fighting a virus globally. I'd like to believe that the younger generation will use this as an opportunity to come together. We have no choice.
What steps do you think we can take as a society in order to increase our resilience at such a time of crisis?
The answer to that for me right now will be personal. We have to be resilient through this in our small little prison right now. I find that hard to do, and I can't go out there and do things and not just work, but teach things and be part of that community. But I have to survive this day for the day after. And I think resilience at this point should be just this.
So can you please discuss what role you think the Charney Forum for New Diplomacy will have and what advantage it will have as a hybrid of academia and hands-on programming that it offers across sectors?
Forums like the Charney Forum for New Diplomacy will be key organizations to move us all forward. By us, first of all, I mean the world internationally, because new diplomacy will be needed not just to survive the aftermath of this virus as an internal society, but as an international society. Needless to say, this might happen again. So be it government to government and then to the people, which is what the Charney Forum for New Diplomacy is aiming to do. That is exactly the type of new movement that we're going to need as societies all throughout the world to get ourselves out of these recent crises that we're in, but also to combat one in the future.